hope this streaming doesn't mess up. I'm doing 4K. I got a 4K camera, and this software is supposed to be 4K. So hopefully it doesn't look weird. Listen, Jay-Z on the Black Album, which was supposed to be his last album, he had a song called What More Can I Say? What more can I say? And the point was, look, I'm Jay-Z. I've been spitting. What more can I say? I've told you I'm this, I'm that, I'm the best, I'm the great. What more can I say? One of the best songs on the Black Album, Jay-Z. At this point, man, listen, we're making videos about Caitlin Clark because you all like to hear and talk about Caitlin Clark. You all love it. I watch multiple YouTube accounts that are growing off of talking about Caitlin Clark. The most electrifying athlete in the world. Now, it will be interesting. The NFL starts tonight, and I cannot wait. My team doesn't play till Sunday, but my fantasy team starts tonight. It'll be interesting to see how much of the this is actually going to be a good test. How much of Caitlin Clark is because let's be clear, no disrespect. You know I bang with the girl. She's tough. But here's the reality. The WNBA strategically times their season when other majors, baseball is going on. So you're right if you watch baseball. But baseball usually is in the afternoon and stuff like that. But they time it where they're not competing with a lot of other sports. NFL starting. And this is just before the WNBA playoffs. So it'd be crazy to see if Caitlin Clark is still drawing the attention once a lot of guys now are watching NFL. Now, if the games don't ever collide, if there's a game, like she plays tomorrow night, Friday night, but there's an NFL game on tomorrow night, actually. So that'd be interesting to see. But Jay-Z said, what more can I say? At this point, what more can you say? I'm watching people make YouTube videos saying the same thing over and over about Caitlin Clark. I'm going to say something different today. I did not get a chance to watch the game last night because I was leading a meeting at my church, so I had to watch the highlights. My buddy texted me and was like, fam, triple-double. I was like, you got to be kidding me. Now, yesterday, it was announced that the Indiana Fever clinched the playoffs, which was their goal. Their goal from the beginning of the year was to make the playoffs. Now, I've said I hope that they're not satisfied just with making the playoffs because it could lead to not going far in the playoffs. You kind of get satisfied. You end up playing out to lose rather than playing to win. But here's the reality. At this point now, everyone who has said negative things about Caitlin Clark, the Lord has spoken. She's not who you thought she was. The people who were negative. And at this point, it's becoming too obvious. This girl, she is the bus driver. Caitlin Logo Clark is the bus driver. All right? Let me tell you what I mean by that. Many of you, if you follow college basketball, especially when Coach K, Mike Krzyzewski, was the head coach of Duke, especially in that 90s era, where Duke was just like Duke and was one of the most dominant NCAA teams ever, winning championships and all that. During that era, if you played at Cameron Indoor Stadium, right? I used to watch these games. And Dick Vitale used to be, oh, it's Dickie V, baby. We're in Cameron, baby. It's Dickie V. You'd watch these games, right? And what was crazy, what was the one thing that Cameron Indoor Stadium did that many other teams didn't do, because it was a smaller stadium, is they would be like, they had antics, crowd antics that were crazy. And I remember in my high school, we tried to get our audience to take on the antics. So when I got into a fight with the coach and got kicked off the team, I led the crowd in trying to have these antics, right? So we would do stuff like this. Whenever the opposing point guard would dribble the ball, we would be like, bounce, 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 pass. We just to annoy them. Whenever they pass the ball, we'd yell pass. Whenever they bounce, we'd yell bounce, just to annoy them. That's what we got from Cameron Indoor Stadium. But there was this thing that you used to say at the end of the game. When the game was over, and it was a home game, and the game is over, and you smacked them, right? It was clear you were going to win. You had this phrase that once you started yelling it, it was, at the time, probably the most disrespectful phrase you could say to the opposing team. Cameron Indoor Stadium did this. My high school did this. We were infamous for this. If we won the game, especially if we smacked you, at about a minute, we waited till it was around a minute, and then you would hear this, start the bus, start the bus, start the bus. And it would get louder and louder and louder. And it was basically telling the opposing team, you've lost, start your bus that brought you here. You're going back home to your gymnasium, to your school. You've lost. We would yell this, excited. We would stomp on the thing, start the bus. I mean, people would dance to it. It was incredible. Listen, Caitlin Clark is the bus driver. She's the bus driver. She is Caitlin Start the Bus Clark. And I mean, it just is what it is. It is what it is. She's the bus driver, ladies and gentlemen. She's the bus driver. It's incredible. It's incredible. And I think for many people, you know what I realized? I don't know if I've said this, and I haven't watched anyone else say this, because we've all given a lot of reasons why we like Caitlin Clark. But you know what? You know one reason why I think a lot of people like Caitlin Clark, and some people didn't process it like this? Because Caitlin Clark, people will throw this in your face if you're a Caitlin Clark fan. Well, she didn't win a championship. She lost twice in a row. And you go, well, yeah, but she broke the scoring record, right? And you're trying to defend that it's okay for me to like someone that didn't win the chip. Steph Curry didn't win a championship in college. There's tons of people that didn't, right? LeBron James didn't, but he didn't go to college, so that's not fair. But still, he didn't win a championship in college. It still counts. You know one of the reasons why people love Caitlin Clark is because she didn't win in college. And then she came to the NBA and was told by Deanna Taurasi and others, it's not going to be what you think when you get here. And there was a point in the season where Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever were 1-8. And you know what a lot of us saw? We saw this girl who was phenomenal that didn't win back-to-back times in the championship game. She comes into the W. She's a great player, but then all of a sudden, she's not scoring 41 a game. She's not dropping a game. There's turnovers. She's getting D'd up. She's picking the ball up. She's getting, all this stuff. And we can see this. But you know what Caitlin Clark became for many of us? She became the underdog. She didn't win in college. And then now we want to see her win in the professional level because we know she's good. And because so many people were pushing back against her, they didn't realize they made Caitlin Clark the underdog. And all of us love the underdog story, right? We love the David versus Goliath story. We love the rags to riches. We're people that thrive off of the underdog story because that's what the American dream is about, right? Part of the underlying essence is you can be nothing, go from nothing to something. The Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd trading places. People dream of that. We see these success stories. We started in the garage and now we're a multi-million-dollar company. The underdog narrative is something that's embedded in a lot of us because the majority of us are underdogs. We're underdogs. We're not the beautiful people. We're not rich. We're not famous. I'm a pastor. I'm a believer. I'm a dad. I'm a YouTuber. I'm a rapper. I'm these things, but I'm nobody on one level, right? On one level. But Jesse Jackson said, keep hope alive. But we're the underdogs. We see these people. We're not these people who are rich and famous who go into the mall and shut down the mall and buy $30,000 Birkin bags. What? There are people who spend money and we like, man, give me a third of that money, man. Some of us would just, hey, man, you give me 10 grand, I'll hold on to it, We love the underdog story. And what Caitlin Clark became was the underdog. We knew she could play ball, but the odds were against her. She didn't win in college. They threw it in her face. She got to the W, and she was losing games the first part of the season, and they threw it in her face. So every time that she won, we would all be like, yes, that's what we saw in college. That right there. Look at that. And we would defend it, and people would push back. Yeah, she's not that great. She's not this. She's not that. They tried to make it about race. No, it wasn't no race. Nobody was watching her because she was white versus black. We watched her because she would ball. She would shoot from. But what happened? They didn't realize they turned her into an underdog. But now, and I remember, I don't know if you remember this. Remember during the season when she didn't get the Olympic nod. She didn't make the Olympic team. And a lot of people were upset and offended. And there's a lot of background to that. I've covered that already. But she did one thing that proved that she has the gift of prophecy. That the Lord gave her the gift of prophecy he gave Saul and the prophets in the Old Testament. And I'm joking about that, to be honest. So I don't idolize Caitlin Clark that much. I'm having fun with it, right? Like to have fun with it. But she was prophetic. Prophecy means, biblically on one level, to predict the future, to say something that's going to happen. She was prophetic when she said this. When she didn't make the Olympic team, she said to her coach, which her coach told the rest of the world, she said, Coach, they awoke a sleeping giant. That's what they said. And people were like, oh, Christy's side shouldn't have said that. That's a personal conversation. They were on Christy's sides, everything she did. If she took a deep breath, they had a problem with it, right? She can't coach. Get her out of there. She said, Caitlin Clark said they woke a sleeping giant. But then they still lost some games after that. They still lost. Now, today, at 18-16, clinched the playoffs. Caitlin Clark is the sleeping giant. She said they awoke a sleeping giant. She had a triple-double last night, a triple-double. This is the second triple-double. 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 Fans cheer for her as loudly as they do their own teams in the away games, when they're playing games in other people's cities. She is start the bus. Start the bus. It's it. It is going to be, now I personally do not think they're going to win the WNBA, but I'm telling you, I'm going to be watching every game they play. You know why? Because on one level, to be honest with you, even though she was phenomenal in college, until you win, some people will not give you your props. They would, and that's why we call it hating. There's a lot of amazing athletes that never won a championship, never won a gold medal, never won. You do not discredit those athletes because they didn't win a gold. They were good enough to compete for their country. Out of the millions of people in the country, these people were good enough to compete and they didn't win the gold. You don't throw it away. You don't discredit them. So to us, many of us still see Caitlin Clark as the underdog. Not an underdog and she's not good enough and she's playing against everyone better than her, but the underdog in that she didn't win in college. They said she's not going to, the people who play the sport said she's not going to win in the pros, and now we want to see it. And it's not because of race. It's not because she's white. It's because she's the underdog. And we want to see the underdog win. You know why? Because you're an underdog and I'm an underdog. And it feels like when the underdogs win, we win. Is it true? No, but it feels like it. So we love these things. Look at this. Look at some of these highlights. Let's get into it. Look at this, man. This is crazy. Look at these highlights right here. Look at this. Coming out, watch this. Pump fake. Ooh, step back. 3. Swat whack. We see that. We see that. There's a lot of women who shoot threes, but this step back, whoo, it's crazy. Watch this move. I want to see, look at Kelsey Mitchell cooking. Look at that. Whack, 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 whack. Cooking. It's just you can't do nothing about it. You just can't do nothing with it. She's cooking. Look at this. Replay. Kelsey Mitchell cooking. She didn't even score what she normally does. She only had 18 last night. Pass, another to Kelsey Mitchell. Cooking. It's almost like when Caitlin's on the floor and whatever she did. Look at this. Double team. Pass right down low. Look at that. Right down low to Leah Boston. Drop buckets. These are all, she had a triple-double. She had 10 assists, 24 points, 10 rebounds, something like that. Look at this. I mean, they're clicking. But remember, earlier in the season, Oh, she's not that good. She's not winning. Look at her turnovers. That's what everyone's saying. Now look at this. Step back, 3. Whap, whap. This is what's happened. This is start the bus. Look at this. Crossover, step back, 3. She was looking her square up in her face. See, we like that because we saw her do that, but people said, look at that, stole the ball. Look at this, coming down, straight layup. Speed, let's go. Speedy Gonzalez, underlay, yeba. It is what it is. This is it. This is what we like to see. Look at this. Step it, crossover, look at that, dish, all of that. Spin move, boom. Start the bus. This is why people come to see her play. She's under, look at that, step back, look at that, 3. Swat. If you've never seen her play, this is what you get to see. She did a move I've never seen her do before. I don't know if they're going to show it in this highlight, but she did it wrong. Here we go. Little Jason Kidd right here. Whoop, whoop. Bam. Pass. This is what we like to see. This is it right here. This is what we love to see. This kind of stuff. You know why? And is it the most amazing thing in the world? No. But you know what? Because you said, oh, she's not that good. She didn't win in college. You made her the underdog. And that's what happens. And now for us, in many ways, because this is the thing. This is what people don't realize. We're always as people trying to identify with other people, right? You know how when people say, oh, if you're a musician, oh, she sounds like she sings like this, or we're always trying to identify with people. And that's why when social media came, it made many people more drawn to celebrities because now you can connect to them in ways that why do you think all these women, I mean, I'll give Kim Kardashian her credit. She's the modern day Marilyn Monroe because Marilyn Monroe made all these women want to be blonde and ditzy and get a mole on their face. All these women wanted to look like Kim Kardashian because you want to connect with these people. Well, I'm not trying to look like Caitlin Clark. I don't identify as a woman. None of that. I identify as an OG ex-gangster who's a believer in Jesus. But I understand what it feels like to have the odds stacked against you, for people to tell you what you're not going to be, who you're not. And that's what Caitlin Clark represents. And now that Caitlin Clark that they were saying is not nothing is now telling all the people who said that, start the bus. Start the bus. Start the bus. And we got 6 games left in playoffs. I think she's just pulling out of the bus depot. Oh, this is going to be fun to watch. Stay with me. We got much to talk about. See you in the next video.